So I asked a bunch of teenagers, what is the best thing a parent can do for you? And what is the worst thing a parent can do for you? And it started off a really interesting conversation. So first of all, none of these kids have major discord in their lives. All of their basic needs for security, stability, love, etc. are basically met. No domestic violence or abuse or neglect like that. And none of these kids have severe mental health issues that they're struggling with. So I wanted to give that caveat. So the younger teenagers, I'll say prepubescent, gave similar answers like, I want to have experiences and do fun things. So the best thing a parent can do for me is expose me to those things and bring me places and bring me to an amusement park and that kind of thing. So predictable. The older teenagers said similar things, but more like, give me freedom. Don't drive me places. Let me go places. Specifically, let me experience things with friends. The best thing you can do is give me freedom. The worst thing you can do is restrict that freedom to socialize and engage with the world outside of you, basically. So I said to a couple of the kids, okay, what if you're not showing good judgment to be given freedom? What if you're skipping school, you're going to parties you shouldn't be going to, you're doing reckless things? Should the parent still give you freedom? And one of the kids was like, well, I really think the parent not taking the risk to give the kid that freedom, to like trust the kid enough, is maybe part of the reason why that kid is acting out. And I was like, that's food for thought. Like it really means a lot at a certain developmental stage to kind of get the impression from the trusted adults that you are trustworthy. And it's really hurtful to be seen as not trustworthy. And so the kid was basically saying, so those kids might just be self-sabotaging. Ever thought of that, Miss Angelica? Interesting. So the more we talked about this freedom thing, the more it became apparent that it's not just about having the freedom to do fun things with friends, which is of course really important at this stage because they're trying to forge their own identity as independent. What they're really looking for is an adult to see them as trustworthy, because their friends can't give them that. They're just a bunch of bozos trying to figure it out themselves and sometimes having lapses in judgment. But having somebody that they trust and look up to, although they won't admit it, but somebody at least that's halfway respectable, saying like, you're becoming one of us. And I'm showing you that because I'm giving you some freedom and I'm trusting you with that freedom. That means a lot to them. They can't get that from their peers. Their peers aren't like the respectable ones that have made it, that can grant you entrance into the club of adulthood. And what I gathered from this conversation is how important it is to be seen by the respectable adults as trustworthy, and how hurtful it is, how much actual feelings are hurt when kids have lapses in judgment or they screw up, and instead of given benefit of the doubt, they're being painted with a you have poor judgment brush. So one of the girls got in trouble for not telling her mom where she was going, typical teenage stuff, and she got grounded. She didn't really care about the grounding. She cared more about how the mom issued the grounding. Was she matter of fact and kind of like, you're learning and this is how we learn and next time I'm sure you won't do this? Or was she like, what is wrong with you? You're grounded. How could you? And she and this other boy, they weren't using the word benefit of the doubt, but they were basically saying how important it is that the adults speak to them with benefit of the doubt when they make a mistake. So the adults aren't seeing them as bad. They're pretty sensitive to that at this developmental stage. I think when kids are really young and they have lapses in judgment or they make mistakes, it's easy to see them as on their journey and figuring things out. Like, oh, you forgot your lunch again? Sweetheart, try to remember it next time. The vibe when kids are young, it's more naturally kind of sweet. But as they get older, the stakes are higher and the mistakes they make us parents more anxious. Like, it's not forgetting the lunch. It's oh my gosh, you were riding your bike on the highway? What are you thinking? It makes us more primed to be like aggressive with our guidance. And also the kids are twice as big. Like, I know my kid is way taller than me and I look at him like, what are you thinking sometimes? Because he seems more adulty than he is. when I'm looking at them. So the teenagers, A, it's harder for the adults to give them that benefit of the doubt. And B, it's more important for the teenagers to get that benefit of the doubt. They really want it at this stage. And it's also way easier to validate little kids. It's easier to be like, oh, it's understandable that you left your bike outside. You're not used to putting it in the garage, and I'll remind you next time, sweetie. And it's also more natural to have a more guiding, teaching relationship with young kids. I mean, we teach little kids to tie their shoes because they've never done it before and they need to learn. We teach little kids how to navigate life in a more patient way. Like, next time, put the milk back in the refrigerator a little further because when I open the door, it falls out on mommy. We're much more patient with our guidance. I think the teenagers, we stop doing that. And all of the teenagers I talked to were like, they didn't use those words, but they basically were like, treat me like a human. Remember, I'm learning. So give me the benefit of the doubt. Don't assume that I'm lazy. Assume that I want to be doing the right thing. They said that. And so one of the kids said, if my dad keeps yelling at me because I didn't do my chores, that hurts me. I'd rather have him tell me what to do and understand, like, sometimes I forget. So instead, I'd rather my dad tell me what to do and write it down. It's not the yelling. I mean, the kid doesn't care about the dad yelling at him as much as the sentiment behind the yelling. Like the fact that the dad is like, what is wrong with you? Instead of, yeah, we forget sometimes. How can we implement a system where you won't forget? Like that guidance vibe is missing easily with teenagers, and they really want that. And of course, the stakes are higher than doing chores sometimes. Sometimes it's like the kid's been playing video games all day and he has all this homework he hasn't done. So if you're out the gate like, why are you so lazy? What is wrong with you? Don't you know you have stuff to do? That's going to be really hurtful. Leveling with them, like, I noticed that you've been playing video games all day, and I do know you have a lot to do. I get it. They make these video games literally to be addictive, and the stuff you have to do is really boring. I get it. When I get stuck avoiding really boring things, I actually have to put my phone away. So you might want to literally shut down the computer or like go to a different environment. Like if you want, I can drive you to the library or something. But that guidance tone is really important for the teenagers instead of the what's wrong with you. Or the stakes could be even higher. You could know dang well that your teenager's sitting on porn till all hours of the night. So you could go, again, I noticed this. You should know they make this really addicting, and it's especially addicting to the human brain. A lot of adults struggle with it. And here's some of the blind spots that people don't realize, like, actually make this harmful to relationships or what they want in life. And here's some of the things that you could do to make sure you don't fall into those traps. Giving validation and like that guidance tone instead of that like disgust and annoyance tone was really important to them. Okay, there was a lot more, but I'm going to leave it at that, and because I think that's enough. Okay, have a good one. Bye.